Let's talk about things that I did like about this movie. And I came up with 10 things. What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu, and you're watching my spoiler-filled talkback review for Transformers Last Night. This is a spoiler-filled video, so if you haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend that you watch the movie first before you watch this video, just because I'm gonna spoil a lot of stuff for you guys. Anyways, this is a spoiler-filled video, which I decided to split into two parts, because I want to just talk about things that I liked about Transformers Last Night in this video, and then the video that follows afterwards, I'm going to talk about things that I thought could use some improvement. But in an ongoing effort to make things feel more positive, because there's a lot of negativity surrounding this movie. Look at the Rotten Tomatoes score. It's like 17% right now, and that's 1% less than Age of Extinction and 2% less than Revenge of the Fallen. So there's a lot of negativity surrounding this movie, so I decided, you know what? Let's talk about things that I did like about this movie. And I came up with 10 things. Surprisingly, I came up with 10 things, and we're going to talk about them in no particular order because I really don't know which is better than the other. But let's just randomly go with number 10, and that is the World War II sequence was actually pretty cool. I mean, it was really cool. I like that sequence a lot. It is when Bumblebee, Hot Rod, and the U.S. troops, they storm into the Nazi headquarters, and then they just go off guns blazing right after Bumblebee transforms. And that was so cool. That was really, really cool because it was not only like just a cool action sequence, but it actually had something to do with the story, and it reinforces the fact that the Transformers have been around for a long, long time, longer than we've ever known from the last 4 films. There's way more to it and expands the lore, and not only that, it also sets up the Bumblebee solo film, which we're gonna get next year. So I was really, really happy about that. Number 9. The concept of robots in disguise is back. The robots in disguise concept was only really dominant in the first film because it was fresh and nobody knew that these vehicles could transform into robots, and that's what I loved about the first film. They brought that concept back because there was, of course, the World War II sequence where Bumblebee just rolls right into Nazi headquarters undetected, and also there was the Hot Rod. Hot Rod is at first this old black vehicle. I think it's an older Aston Martin, which Laura Haddock drives, and that was always a robot in disguise. For the longest time, Hot Rod was looking over Vivian Wembley. And so the robots in disguise concept is back, something that was missing from the last couple of sequels because they kind of got rid of it because after the first film, they now know that Transformers do exist. So they just wiped out that concept completely. Robots in disguise are back, so I love that. Number 8, it started off good. I actually really liked the beginning of the film, and then moving on to the next like 30 to 40 minutes of the film. I liked it. I liked where it was going. There was like a number of flaws here and there, but for the most part, I actually liked the medieval sequence. I liked a lot of the action that took place in America, before they went off to London. But I liked a lot of that stuff. I just felt that all the best stuff came at the first 45 minutes of the film. And then once we went into London and then Cybertron, it started going downhill. That's just my opinion. Number 7. Steve Buscemi voices an Autobot named Day Trader, who, a lot of people are calling the Junkion. I have always wanted Steve Buscemi to voice an Autobot, specifically an Autobot, just because I always felt that his voice was very, very cartoon-like, and after watching Steve Buscemi in a couple of Michael Bay films like The Island and also what was the next one? Armageddon, that's when I felt like, you know what? Michael Bay's got to call Steve Buscemi and tell him that you got to voice an Autobot. And when I actually talked about who would I want to voice Autobots, like Transformers characters, like a number of years ago, I said in a video that I wanted Steve Buscemi to voice an Autobot, and they actually got Steve Buscemi to voice an Autobot, so I was really, really happy about that. The characters kind of interesting. He's named Day Trader, which is an odd name. Is a brand new character that is I don't believe has existed ever in the cartoons or the comics. But I like that it's a new character, and he serves a purpose. He definitely is not a character that doesn't just he's there and then he it doesn't do anything. He actually does serve a purpose, even though it's something that's kind of done in the background. All right, so moving on, number 6. Transformers Last Night acknowledges events from the past, such as the existence of Lockdown's ship. There's also Sam Witwicky and also Tessa. So they acknowledge that Lockdown's ship was floating around. Who knows what happened to it after the Hong Kong battle, but they brought it back because Day Trader was able to find it. Isn't that hard to find? Sam Witwicky and the Witwickins, that whole the whole family has something to do with Transformers, and Sir Edmund Burton explains that. And also they address Tessa's absence from the film, and that is because Kate Yeager needs to stay away from her so she could have a good life, right? Who really cares about Shane? Number 5, Transformers lore. Specifically taking things like Quintessa. Well, Quintessa's a planet, but they decided to make a female variation of the Quintessons, and they named her Quintessa, voiced by Gemma Chan. Unicron. They borrowed that from Transformers Prime, where Unicron actually comes from the Earth, comes from the ground, as opposed to this giant planet-sized, planet-eating robot. Like, I think that would just be ridiculous if they brought in Unicron, where it's like the size of Earth, and it like chomps on Unicron. Chomps on Cybertron. That would just be like too big, too sci-fi, like too out there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that they decided to have Unicron come up from Earth. So that was really, really cool. That's taken from Transformers Prime, and I also like the fact that they addressed Optimus Prime, like the evil version of Optimus Prime, as Nemesis Prime. Like, they actually gave him a name, even though it's kind of like just name dropping and name slapping, but that's Nemesis Prime. Like, that really is Nemesis Prime. And if they didn't call him Nemesis Prime, I was just thinking, why didn't they just call him Nemesis Prime? So, like, they've obviously taken inspiration from the lore, and they decided that we're gonna have an evil version of Optimus Prime, and we're gonna make that Nemesis Prime. And they did, and I like that. Number 4, Anthony Hopkins' character, Sir Edmund Burton, and Cogman had the best moments. Not Kate Yeager, not a lot of the Autobots, but Cogman and Sir Edmund Burton. Out of all the human characters, Sir Edmund Burton is actually the most interesting because he has the most amount of information about the Transformers. And as for Cogman, he's the most fun to watch robot character just because he has the most amount of screen time and he actually has a personality. Unlike a lot of the characters, they like, you might think they have personalities, but really all they are just robot characters with really animated voices. That's all they really are. They might be described as having personalities in the back of toy boxes or like character synopsis, but really it's not really displayed in the movie. As for Cogman, like, he's wacky, he's crazy, he's like just a very loyal also. But I really like that Anthony Hopkins, Sir Edmund Burton, and Cogman really did have a lot of great moments together. And they should have just made the movie about them. Really, they just should have made like an entire movie about their characters and just have their adventures with Transformers. That would be cool. Number 4. Transformations. Something that was completely missing from Age of Extinction. There were very few transformations in Age of Extinction. Don't even go there saying that the whole KSI floating cubes and morphing technology is transformation. That's not transformation. That's like a crime to Transformers films. Transformations are seen. Not like all of them. Not all of them. There are still the typical Michael Bay hidden transformations. But we actually do see transformations. They move it's really quick because they're so used to it. We're so used to it by now. So they don't make it like what they did in Transformers 1, where they made it more visible and made the transformations more epic. They don't do that anymore. The transformations are really quick, but at least we get to see in a single take a robot go from vehicle mode or vehicle mode go to robot. Like, we get to see a lot of that. So awesome. I love that. Number 2, there are lots and lots of more robots, and they are distinguishable. They are physically distinguishable by color, size and shape. Like you can just tell right away that this is a robot character that is different from this other robot character. Unlike when they started introducing Decepticon drones in Revenge of the Fallen, and then in Dark of the Moon Day, they brought them back, and in KSI, they had the prototypes, and you didn't know, like, who were they shooting at, because those were nameless Decepticons, and I really hated that. I'm thinking, why do you need to include nameless Decepticons when you have an entire library of Decepticons to go with from G1? So I'm glad that they decided to add more robot characters in. There weren't any drone type of, like, I mean, you know, like identical, like army builder type soldier Decepticons, which I'm glad. So there were a whole bunch of different kinds of robots. There were robots that just appeared and like were gone. I'll name a few off the top of my head. I don't think I'll be able to remember them all. There's Bulldog, the World War I tank. There's Day Traders, voiced by Steve Buscemi, who's the Junkion. There's this Constructicon, not a Constructicon, but a Constructabot, which kind of had Bone Crushers. I almost said Bonehead. There's Bone. It looks like it had Bone Crushers. A face, actually, head shape, head sculpt, but that was an Autobot Constructabot. That we actually see in the trailer in the where Grimlock is chomping on that police cruiser. So there's a lot of vehicles. There's a lot of robots. There's even this like smaller ones that fly around, and there's even this Jetfire looking one in London that I don't even know where it came from. Just popped out of nowhere. There's even like a clock transformer that really is just like, it reminds me of those Revenge of the Fallen kitchen bots. But anyways, just a lot of robots in there, and I'm glad that they're actually distinguishable. And then there's number one, and actually I think this is appropriate for number one because this affects the entire movie, and that is, I believe that the writers did a great job with the story tying in ancient mythology with the Transformers. For example, magic exists during medieval times, but that it was the Cybertronians, or rather the knights, that passed it to them. They took Cybertronian technology, passed it to Merlin, and that's why Merlin was able to generate or create magic. Well, at least they called it magic, but it's actually just Cybertronian science. That's all it is. Like, it's their technology. But I actually love that. I love that what Ken Nolan, Art Markham, and Matt Holloway did. But I feel that the bulk of the story that they put together was in the first and second act of the film. The third act was really all Michael Bay and doing battle, but the setup for it was actually quite fantastic. I really liked that it was a puzzle. It was like a mystery. It got a lot of twists and turns, and the whole Quintessa and Unicron thing. Like, I really liked that. So there you have it. Those are my top 10 things that I did like about Transformers last night. Now, I do want to mention that I like all the robot stuff. I really do. I'm coming into a Transformers film to watch robots, robot action, Transformers transform. So I'm glad we got that stuff. The only thing about the robot stuff is that it's very short-lived. Like, there's a lot of tiny bits of robot sequences. It's like 3 seconds here, 4 seconds here, 5 seconds there, but they're never actually full, complete sequences. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about, because I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys would have loved to see the complete sequence of Slug and Grimlock fighting TRF. They just kind of pop out of nowhere, and then, like, you think that they're gonna fight for longer, but actually the scene just ends. And I was just thinking, like, why couldn't it go on for longer? Like, wouldn't you have liked that? I'm sure everybody would have liked to see more Dinobot action, like more so than Age of Extinction, because we all know that in Age of Extinction, the Dinobots were all just reinforcements, like background characters as reinforcements, but like they didn't have any like character to them. Now, you know, they gave Grimlock some character by making him like a goofy, naughty little dog, or naughty big dog. But then when it was time to fight, he was, you know, it was just a short-lived scene that was only seen in the trailers. If you saw the Grimlock scenes in the trailers, you pretty much saw all of Grimlock's scenes. So I liked a lot of the robot scenes. I just wished it lasted longer. I'm pretty sure that everybody that even liked the film wished that those sequences lasted longer. Like, for example, when the Constructabot started transforming, I was like, oh yeah. I really was like that in the theater. I was like, oh yeah, like, yes. You know what I'm saying? But then after he transformed, like, what happened to him? Like, seriously, what happened to him? Like, did he die? Did he fight? Yeah, did he even fight? Did he even put up a fight? I want to see what happened, right? So anyways, there's a lot of tiny cool things that are a few seconds long. I wish it would actually be an entire long sequence, like an extended sequence. Like, for example, the forest fight. The forest fight was a fight that went on that was completely uninterrupted. It just went on, and it was an awesome sequence. And I thought that Transformers Last Night is a great opportunity to do more things like that. And anyways, we didn't get that, but you know what? That's okay. That's okay. I listed 10 different things, and I really liked these things, and that tells you that there was potential there for like much more improvement, right? So if they can apply more of these things into like the next Transformers film and just expand upon that, I think they would end up with an even better movie, right? Anyways, that's all I gotta say in this spoiler-filled review. I only talked about the good things, but the next video is gonna be a little bit more, people are gonna get sensitive, I know it, because they were sensitive with my negative review, even though it's my own opinion, and I'm entitled to it, just like how you're entitled to your opinion. People are going to get a little bit triggered by my next video. But stay tuned for it. We're here to make a discussion. So let's keep on talking. So I've listed my top 10 things that I liked about Transformers Last Night. Why don't you guys list your top 10 things? You can even list 20 things if you want. You can list as many as you want, and I'll read them all, and I will enjoy reading what you liked. So just leave that in the comment section below, and there you have it. Stay tuned for my next video. As always, if you enjoyed this review and you want to see more, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, the Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, Ragin Nation. My name's Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Just your typical like bam 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 bam, typical driving, and just standard background